Okay, we are cracking the code on background screening data, and we've been geeking out over county records, the background of quality background checks, and how people can get arrested far from home. Today, we're leveling up with statewide data, a powerful tool to snag those out of county records. But it's not a magic wand either. And smart heroes like you need to know how to use it right. All right, so let's dive in, have some fun looking at this data. First, what the heck is statewide data? You hear that term thrown around, but could you explain it to your boss? All right, here's the deal. Every state, plus DC, Puerto Rico, and the Virgin Islands has a statewide criminal repository. These are databases that compile arrest, conviction, and disposition records from county records. Think of it like a statewide scrapbook of criminal activity. That sounds awesome. Perfect for background checks. And it can be. Statewide data helps you catch records from counties your applicant never lived in, like the DUI they picked up on a road trip or a bar fight in a city they visited. But here's the catch. Statewide data isn't a replacement for county searches. It's a layer to add on. Why? Because it's not always complete. A 2019 FBI report found only 69% of arrests in state repositories have final dispositions, meaning you might have an arrest but not know if it led to a conviction, and you need to know if it led to a conviction. And get this, while all 50 states have repositories, only about 5 are reliable enough for employment screening. Think states like Florida, Texas, North Carolina, a couple of others. They're spotty thanks to inconsistent county reporting or delays in updating the data. Plus, most states charge fees anywhere from $10 to $50 per search, and some throw in hurdles like special forms or even fingerprints to get to the data. So it's not always a walk in the park and easy to say, I'll just use statewide data. Let me paint a picture with a story. All right, so I've got a client who screens 25,000 people a year across multiple states, big retail chain, lots of stores. They don't screen an 18-year-old cashier the same way they screen a store manager or a warehouse worker. That's smart, right? For some roles, they add a statewide search in the applicant's state of residence, then run county searches everywhere else. They study their states, and they know which ones, like North Carolina, have rock-solid statewide data that's easy to access. In fact, if you're in North Carolina and someone's charging you per county instead of using the statewide, you need to run the other way because that's a red flag, because that state's data is awesome. So they study their states and they know which ones, like North Carolina, have rock-solid statewide data that's easy to access. But in states with pricey fees or slow systems, they skip those statewides to avoid delays. So it's all about strategy and customization. Now here's where it gets cool. This client operates around Washington, D.C., Virginia, and Maryland, a triad area where people zip across state lines like it's nothing. Live in Virginia, work in D.C., party in Maryland. Their screening package is a beast. If an applicant's address pops in one of these states, the system automatically adds searches for those other states. So a single address in Arlington triggers a multi-jurisdictional hunt, DC, Maryland, you name it. That's how you catch a theft record from a DC nightclub or a Virginia assault charge, even if the applicant lives in Maryland. Now that's screening superpower right there. So how do you make statewide data work for you? It's all about being savvy, sophisticated buyer, like that client designing screens based on location and role. If you're near a state with great statewide data like North Carolina, use it every time. If fees or delays are a problem elsewhere, maybe you lean on counties or a national database instead. You can even build regional screens that toggle statewide searches depending on where your offices are. Right? But here's the key. You're going to need a partner, a good screening partner. Most folks think all screening companies are the same, but they're wrong. A good partner can help you craft these kind of layered strategic screens to maximize the data where they're being used most without breaking the bank or even slowing you down. All right, so this is your moment. Statewide data is a high-quality tool that you can layer into your screens, catching records that county searches might miss. But you got to know, its limits, its spottiness. You got to know the fees and the access quirks, and you got to use it strategically. I've been doing this a long time, and I'm telling you that adding statewide data the smart way makes your screens unstoppable. You're not just screening here, you're building a fortress around that company or organization. So that's Module 3, Lesson 4, and it's your guide to mastering statewide data. So next, we're going to be tackling that federal court data and why it's a whole different beast. Now stick with me. You're on fire.